Hi, I'm Michael Wurst from Rural Solutions SA, and we're here at Keyneton Station, which is owned and managed by the Keynes family. And today we're going to demonstrate the collection of wool trait data and how that is used to make management decisions. And we'll have Georgie Keynes on hand to actually run us through the process and to demonstrate how they actually do it on the property.
We run about 2,000 hectares with about 2,500 breeding merino ewes. Of those ewes, we mate about 1,000 to crossbred Border Leicesters, and the other 1,500 go as replacement merinos. Within that 1,500, we have about 300 which go into our commercial stud, and we just use that to breed our own rams. We first started using eID in our commercial flock and our commercial stud probably 4 to 5 years ago. And we just started by putting eID tags in the lambs, and that's slowly grown over the years. So now we're just about at the point where all of our ewes have eID tags. We use the eID tags and the information that we can to measure fleece weight. We also use it for body weights, particularly our ewes we weigh at weaning time, and then we can estimate their average daily gain throughout their growing season, up until when we either sell them or use them to come back into the flock. We also do that for our wethers. When they get weaned, we get a body weight on them, and then we use that to decide whether we keep them or whether we put them into a feedlot or whether we sell them. We also use the eID information for classing. We put all the information into our XR. We also use the information for scanning for pregnancy, singles and twins, and we're just starting to do that a lot more, so that when it comes down to classing, an adult ewe will know how many lambs potentially she's had. So we collect wool trait data using the eID and all the other technology. We do this because we are trying to increase our fleece weight. Our sheep get classed into stud, commercial flock, and crossbred mates and culls. And then we take all the sheep down and they get shorn, and then we collect the fleece weight information in the shearing shed, and then we bring them back up into the race and we auto draft them based on that information. So that way we're getting the highest fleece weight ewes that have been classed as studs into the studs. The ones that aren't quite as high but are still classed as studs get dropped back into the commercial, and that all flows down. So we end up with the highest fleece weight animals in our studs and then in our commercial flock as well. We've used the wool trait information and collected it for about 4 years now. And we only do our Hoggets because those are the animals that haven't had any lambs yet, so they haven't had to go through pregnancy, and the number of lambs doesn't change their fleece weight. So when we're in the shearing shed, we use a barcode reader and a barcode scanner and the wand and the XR5000. We use the scanner to scan the ear tag while the sheep's being held by the shearer, and then that prints the information out onto a barcode and the barcode reader. We then rip off that barcode and we leave it by the clicker for the shearers for each stand number that they're on. And then when the rouseabout comes down and picks up the fleece, they grab the barcode, which relates to the eID tag for that animal. We then take the fleece down to the scales and weigh it, and that barcode that is still related to that animal gets scanned, and that information all goes into the XR5000 that then we can sort through the data and use it how we need to. I've got my barcode printer, I've got my wand, and I'm going to go and get the barcode from the sheep. I just have to wait a minute till it's in the right position. Just going to press the button and do a barcode, like that. And we fold it up and put it in there for the rousey to collect. Okay, so I'm going to put the fleece on the scales, scan the barcode from the tag that we did earlier, and it's recorded.
So here we are recording the weight that's being scanned to match up with the eID number of the animal with the weight of the fleece, and it's recording as we're going. You can see here that the average is 3.4, minimum is 2.4, and the maximum is 5.1.
So prior to using eID and collecting the information with the technology, we would collect the fleece weight information using handheld pieces of paper in the shearing shed, and we'd only do it for our stud animals. So that was a very small portion. It took a long time, and the information was never 100% correct because you were misreading handwriting. There was also mistakes in the shearing shed with tags and missing tags, and it was a lot of data that you sort of had to go through as well. Since using eID, it's been a much quicker process. And obviously, because it's quicker, we can do a lot more of our animals. So we're now doing all of our ewe Hoggets. So we'll get a much better representation of our whole entire flock rather than just the small stud mob. So in the past, when we ran a ram stud, we used a computer and linked that up to the indicator that we were using at the time. But now we don't even use the computer and the Excel spreadsheets. All we use is the XR. We find that linking that up with the auto drafter just helps to divide everything the way that we need them to. We can't do too much discrepancy on individual animals, but where we are at the moment, the XR just does everything that we need it to do. So we use the wool data particularly in the sheep yards with the Pratley auto draft. We click the XR straight onto the machine and put in what fleece weights we want it to be depending on what class of animal it is, and then run the animals straight through the auto draft, and it divides them depending on their fleece weight and their class. We also use all of the information for dividing up different classes of animals through their lifetime, also on their body weights, so that we can work out what animals are going into the feedlot, which animals we're keeping. It helps to provide an average daily weight gain rather than just a whole average. We think that's really important so we can pick out our best performers and our worst performers. We also use the information to look at culling down the line with the older ewes, how many lambs they've had depending on their twin or single pregnancy status. We're trying to push fleece weight and wool growth on the property at the moment. That's one of our goals, to increase it. At the moment it's sitting at these Hoggets just weighed at about 3.5. Ideally we'd really like that to get up to at least 4 to 4.5 in our Hoggets. We use probably for about 4 years now. The panel reader reads the information from the tag and the number, and that's obviously put up into our XR5000, and the XR5000 stores all the information about this animal. So in here now we've got fleece weight, we've also got breech wrinkle, which we did at lamb marking, and we've also got body weight that we've taken from weaning and then through till sort of early January we take one, and then we take one now just on shearing time. So this is once we've drafted everything. I'm just looking at the number that we've put into each of the mobs, and it's also got our average weights here as well. And we're now going to bring our crossbred mates back around and draft them off on weights. So the bottom portion will be our cull-culls, and the top portion will be mated to border Leicesters. So from here they'll go out with their respective mobs. So the flocks will go out with the mob of adult ewes that are the flocks. Crossbreds will go out with the crossbred mates and get ready for being joined in January with our crossbreds. And the stud mob will go back into our big stud mob, so be used to breed rams for next year. So we're using the information to put the higher fleece weighted animals into the stud mob based on their class. We also buy reasonably high weighted rams in ram sales so that we can work on our genetic improvement. The information that we're using is really helping us to pick out our top performing animals. They're the ones that we obviously want to breed from, put in our commercial flock and in our stud. Along with the information that we get from our classer, the wool information is really helping us to push that side of our business so that we can continue to produce really good wools that have a good fleece weight. It also helps us to obviously identify the poorer doers, and they're the ones that we can get rid of first. And if we have a bad season, they're certainly the ones that will be classed out straight away. What we're doing right now is certainly a big step forward from what we have been doing.
Yeah, thanks Georgie for inviting us onto your property and to show us how you use eID to improve your farm business.